Something is happening in Africa right now, and whether people like it or not, it is forcing conversation that many have spent decades avoiding. This is not hype. This is not a piece of government propaganda designed to win an election. This is reality moving so fast that the usual excuses can't even keep up. Somewhere between disbelief and pure shock, Africans are asking the exact same question. Welcome to Power and Pulse, to our loyal family. Thank you for your unwavering support. If you are new here, you've arrived at a moment when the old world order is being physically dismantled. How does a country long described as poor suddenly move with the precision of a disciplined, high-performance machine? How does a government execute in mere weeks what others fails to do in 3 decades? At the center of this seismic shift stands one man, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Over the last 40 days, what he has done in Burkina Faso hasn't just left the Sahel stunned. It has left the entire continent in a state of quiet reflection. Today, we aren't just reporting on a road. We are decoding a revolution in governance. We are looking at a 276-kilometer highway that is acting as an indictment against every corrupt leader who ever told their people there is no money. Stick with me until the very end, because we are going to break down the funding, the logistics, and the dangerous reasons why this project has certain foreign interests shaking in their boots. Let's rewind. Few weeks ago, Captain Ibrahim Traoré made an announcement. Now, in Africa, we've been trained by experience not to take these things seriously. We've seen the groundbreaking ceremonies. We've seen the ribbons cut. We've seen the fancy 3D animations of projects that never actually leave the computer screen. But Traoré announced a 276-kilometer highway project. This wasn't a patch job. This wasn't rehabilitating a few potholes. This wasn't phase 1 of 5. This was a brand new 4x4 highway. 4 lanes going, 4 lanes coming back. Now pause for a second and think about African infrastructure history. In many of our countries, even a simple 2-lane road becomes a generational project. Feasibility studies take 5 years. Environmental assessments stall for another 3. The funding disappears into mysterious offshore accounts. Contractors vanish halfway through. Budgets triple, then quadruple. So when Traoré said 276 kilometers, people listened, but few truly believed. They hadn't been betrayed by Burkina Faso. They had been betrayed by decades of disappointment across the continent. They expected a project that would take 10 years to complete. They were wrong. Here is where the story breaks every expectation of modern politics. 40 days later, not 4 years, not 4 election cycles, not 4 donor conferences at the Hilton. Just 40 days, the road corridor is already opened. Think about the sheer physical labor involved in that statement. Mountains have been cut through, valleys have been flattened, rock formations that have stood for millennia were dismantled in a matter of weeks. Earth moved at a scale that usually requires a multinational corporation and a decade of planning. All 276 kilometers. The land is fully prepared. The road is visible from the air. The groundwork done. Over 70% of the project, the hardest part, the clearing and leveling, is already completed before the actual tarring even begins. This is not a symbolic start. This is not some stage progress for a photo op. This is physical, measurable, undeniable reality. And suddenly, the critics in Africa went very, very quiet, because this project contradicts everything we've been told about what is possible in a third world nation. Now pay attention, because this is the most dangerous part of the story for the global elite. How was the project funded? If you listen to the mainstream economists, they'll tell you that for a project of this scale, you need an IMF loan. You need a World Bank debt package. You need to go cap in hand to the African Development Bank or the Islamic Development Bank. You need to sign away your minerals right as collateral. But Burkina Faso said no. This entire 276-kilometer highway is being built with internal funding. No IMF, no World Bank, no future claims. No conditionalities that tell the government how to run their schools or who to trade with. Just Burkina Faso funding Burkina Faso. This is where the silence from other African capitals get loud. For decades, we were told the same lie. We don't have money. We were told we were too poor to build our own roads. But suddenly, when the corruption is cut, the leakages are blocked. When accountability is enforced, at the point of a pen, money appears. It didn't come from magic. It came from logic. Burkina Faso didn't suddenly find a mountain of gold it didn't know it had. What happened is far more uncomfortable for the old guard. The bleeding stopped. We need to redefine what corruption actually is. Corruption is not just a politician stealing money for a villa in Switzerland. Corruption is delay. Corruption is inefficiency. It is the intentional inflation of contracts so that 10 people can take a cut before a single shovel hits the dirt. When you remove that layer of greed, speed increases exponentially. When accountability is enforced, costs drop by 50, 60, or even 70%. When leadership is serious, what used to be a miracle becomes a standard operating procedure. Every kilometer of this road is an accusation against the leaders who spent 20 years building 20 kilometers. Every cleared mountain is a question. What were you doing with our tax money for the last 30 years? This is why Traore is being called a dictator or dangerous by certain Western outlets. It's not because he's hostile, it's because he's independent. And in the world of global finance, an independent African nation is a nightmare. Independence is not negotiated, it is taken. When a country builds without borrowing, it becomes uncontrollable. It can't be threatened with sanctions on its debt. It can't be bullied into voting a certain way at the UN because its credit line is at risk. Captain Ibrahim Traoré is under constant pressure not because he is failing his people, but because he is succeeding too visibly. He is attacking other African leaders not with words, but with evidence. And evidence is unforgiving. You can argue with a speech, but you can't argue with a 4-lane highway that didn't exist 40 days ago. You can't argue with a mountain that has been moved. Do you see why they are nervous? If Burkina Faso can do this, then what is the excuse for Nigeria? What is the excuse for Kenya? What is the excuse for Ghana? What is the excuse for Cameroon? Type the name of your own country in the comments. Let's talk about what this road actually does. This isn't just about smooth driving. 276 kilometers of high-speed highway is economic acceleration. It is agricultural mobility. It means a farmer in a remote village can get his produce to the capital before it rots. It means trade efficiency. It means goods move cheaper, which means the price of bread and milk stays stable for the poor. But most importantly, in the Sahel, it is security. A 4x4 highway means security forces can respond to a threat in 30 minutes instead of 6 hours. It means the state can project power and protection to its most vulnerable citizens. This is how you build a nation, not with white papers and donor conferences, but with concrete, asphalt, and discipline. The biggest lie ever sold to the African continent was, you must borrow to develop. Burkina Faso is proving the exact opposite. What you must do is control your corruption. You must respect public funds. You must enforce a level of military discipline in the civil sector. Traore isn't just a military leader, he is a project manager in a beret. He has aligned the leadership with the people. There is no magic here. There is just honesty. And in a world of crooked politics, honesty feels like a superpower. Years from now, the insults thrown at Burkina Faso will be forgotten. The concerns of the EU and the US State Department will be footnotes in history. But people will remember this road. They will remember the moment Africans realized they were never incapable. They were simply misled. Once a person sees what is possible, they can never be governed by lies again. When the citizens of a neighboring country sees 276 kilometers cleared in 40 days without a cent of foreign debt, that citizen stops believing their own minister when he says, "We are waiting for a loan from the IMF to fix the bridge." The excuse era in Africa is coming to an end. History does not announce itself with trumpets and fanfare. It moves quietly, behind the scenes, while the old structure of power collapses under their own weight. What is happening in Burkina Faso is not noise. It is proof. This road will stand long after the critics have fallen silent. It is a physical monument to the fact that Africa's poverty was always a policy choice, not a destiny. We were never poor. We were never slow. We were never incapable. We were simply robbed. And we were robbed by a system that told us we needed them more than we needed ourselves. Captain Ibrahim Traoré and the people of Burkina Faso have just torn up that contract. They are building their own future with their own hands and their own money. If this story spoke to you, if you feel the pulse of a new Africa rising, then I need you to do your part. Smash that like button. Let's send this video to every corner of the continent to wake up our brothers and sisters. Share this video. Send it to that friend who still thinks Africa needs aid to survive. Subscribe to Power and Pulse. We are the home of the African narrative. We don't report the noise. We decode the power. Final question. 40 days, 276 kilometers, no debt. If your government told you this was impossible, would you believe them now? Truth only spreads when people like you push it forward. This is Power and Pulse, and I'll see you in the next one.